You are tuned to NYC Radio Live. Thanks for joining us. My name is David Ellenbogen, and today's guest is Ehsan Matoori. And Ehsan is one of the masters, one of the leading virtuosos on the Persian Santoor, and generally one of the great exponents of that traditional classical music of Iran. And one of the blessings of this episode for me was the homework that I did beforehand. I asked Ehsan to make a list of all the great virtuosos and musicians from previous generations up to the present of the Daska system, which is kind of somewhat of an equivalent of a raga system, and of Persian music in general. And he made a incredible list, and it was really revelatory. There's so much elegant and beautiful and astounding virtuosity and beautiful compositions. So we begin with that conversation, and I imagine it's probably next to impossible to just glean their names from the conversation. So I did include in the liner notes, the podcast notes, you can find Ehsan's full list of suggested deep listening. So I hope for some of you that it will be as revelatory for you as it was for me. And the occasion, the reason we got a chance to speak with Ehsan is he is coming out with a new album. It'll come out in just a day or two after this gets aired. It's called Right of Strings. He's co-led with the great Peruvian bass player, the Grammy Award-winning musician Edward Perez. And I hope you'll check that out as well. And I just learned so much about poetry and Persian music, and I hope you'll enjoy this conversation with Ehsan Matoori. Thanks for listening. Very interesting. We kind of linked up in a kind of magical way. My wife, Mari, who is a very sensitive person, she's very connected, and she heard your music and felt something, and then said to me, and I was blown away. And then it looked like we got lucky. You were coming out with a new album and all that.
So the same for me. Let me say hello to you and to your to the people who are listening to your radio. One thing is a very exciting part of this conversation was I'm a big fan of your festival.
Oh.
And last year I was like, so I saw some of the posts and stories, and I was like, oh my God, I have to be there and play my music there. And then we had another conversation with Edward Perez, one of the co-director of the Right of the Strings, and he also mentioned you guys, and I was like, you know what? I don't know how to contact them and how to find them. And once I received that Instagram message, I screenshot it and sent it to Edward. I was like, now it's my time. Yeah, it was a very magical time, and I'm very glad that I received the message from you guys from the Instagram. Honestly, I'm a very lazy person through the social media. I don't check my Instagram or messages. I don't know why, but that day, so I was a little bit sad about an organizer who didn't organize that the upcoming concert as we asked for. And then once I received that text, I'm like, oh, okay, so this is a good sign. I can just enjoy this, and then let's see what happened to the concert. But anyways, I'm very glad that I'm here, and thank you so much for your invite.
Yeah, no, that is amazing. Who knows how the world works? Um, you know, there's so many interesting that like one of the quotes I like is a jazz musician, Abby Lincoln, who was married to Max Roach, and she had a song called "Music is the Magic of a Secret World," which I
Exactly.
like that. Yeah, and
Exactly.
yeah. So who knows? Who knows? Because that's so interesting, and of course, for sure, in 2027, you'll be playing at our festival, so that'll be
It's a
very
pleasure.
special. Yeah, and so one of the great things that happened is, after we connected, you were very generous to 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 share some of the great musicians in this tradition, the ones who are recorded. Obviously, the tradition goes back thousands of years, but and I was Mari and I were we couldn't believe it. Let's see, the first one you share was the Mohammad Reza Shajarian. How is that pronunciation? Is
Yes.
that
Yeah,
right?
Shajarian, yes.
I've never heard a vocalist like that in my entire life. We'll have to put his name in the notes so people can find. That is, there's there's nothing like that, is there?
So, about him, he's so we are talking about 50 years ago that some of those young musicians started that revolution. Not against the traditional, just bring the traditional to a modern
Mhm.
theme at that moment to make it more memorable and more joyful for people to listen to it. And Mohammad Reza Shajarian was one of them. So he was a very great person to he made this bridge between the classical poetries, classical music, and also bring them to the modern society at that moment, like the 70s. And that's why so most of the people at that generation, younger generation at that moment, also younger generation in the other moment, like the 80s, 90s, 2000, they love him. And he's one of the legendaries of the Iranian traditional music. And also most of the musicians thought from him that you need to you need to walk away from what you learn and do what you like to bring your music on the stage that people um, more listenable to the people. So this is how it works for all of us. I mean, so that innovation.
Mm, that's so interesting. Yeah, and then some of those other musicians that you shared, the Faramarz Payvar, is that how you?
Payvar, yes.
Um, yeah, I mean, just listening to that music, especially for us, hearing the music in those different intonations, it has a very regal feeling. Like you feel kind of elevated. You feel like royal almost, it,
Yeah,
it
true.
does something to you. I don't know if you feel the same way about that music and more
True.
tradition.
True. Yes. Yes. It's really the same that you said. One thing about Faramarz Payvar, so he's the he's an important person in Santoor journey. So the one who brought Santoor on the stages, like official stages or conservatory, and also most of his repertoire went well on the like orchestras, philharmonics, and he was one of the traditional musician who brought Santoor even in a classical, like a European classical or the modern classical. And of course, the way that he start studying or his studying method is one of the very strong studying method in the universities right now for the Santoor player and those who like to learn Santoor.
Mm. And then there's the great setar player that you shared. Uh,
Mr. Alizadeh.
yeah,
Okay,
And
one story about Mr. Alizadeh.
yeah,
So I called him Baba. So Baba in Farsi means dad. So he's one of the lovely people in my life, and I had a chance to met him many times, and he's lovely. So one thing that I really want to share about him, the important thing about his composition. So at that moment, the society of Iran was influenced by many like a music, like a, let's say, jazz, pop, classic, and those transfer from the European or like a Western. So he was one of the people who tried to convince that society, the Iranian society, to be more um, uh, like a kind to the Iranian traditional by his composition. Most of his composition is really like an instrumental. You see, he has less vocals on his project than other one, like a Faramarz Payvar or also Maestro Parviz Meshkatian. And this major influence, it was not only musically, it helped also more like a theatrical movie maker, all those discipline to walk through the same way that he did.
interesting. Yeah, and then of course, the Pashang Kamkar. I was hearing him do just really incredible techniques where the right hand and left hand are so incredibly independent.
Yeah. You can see that technique more in Ardavan Kamkar, the younger brother. But the good story about them is that they came from a folk family, like a folk music family. So they are Kurdish, and Kurdish music in Iran is like one of the strongest uh, folk music in that area, that region. So that they brought this um, to the classical music, and most of the musicians right after them, they really inspired by the melody or the music that they wrote. And you will see that there is a generation around them that they play like Ardavan Kamkar or they play like a Pashang Kamkar. So there are like 5, 6 brothers. Pashang, Santoor player, Ardavan, Santoor player, Ardashir, kamancheh player, Bijan, Daf player, Arsalan, oud, and violin player. It's like a group of family that they play everything. And also they had a sister called Pashang. Pashang in Farsi means beautiful. That she plays setar. And so everything was so it was like a 60 or maybe 70 years ago that their father, their dad, Ehsan Kamkar, that he was one of the legendaries of the Iranian folk music. He started teaching them all these instruments, and now they're one of the great ensemble in Iran, mostly folk.
Interesting. And Kayhan Kalhor, who actually I was lucky enough to interview him. He's another Kurdish musician, I believe, who's just kind of mastered
Exactly.
all this stuff. And he has a recording with the Mohammad Reza Shajarian, which is mind-blowing. It's just
Yes, and with Alizadeh, I guess it was like a quartet. Him, Mr. Alizadeh, Mr. Shajarian, and Humayun Shajarian, Mr. Shajarian's son. That he's an amazing singer too.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we don't really know what the music sounded like, but we know the roots go back like 7th century, right? There was Barbad and there was the 7 royal modes or something like that.
Exactly. Oh, you know everything. Wow. Okay. Yes,
Well, what
that
I do
those
know,
7 royal notes. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I do know that we don't know really, but that there was 7 royal modes and that there was in carvings of rocks, they have pictures of the king surrounded by harps, people playing harps. It's carved in stone. So we know that music was really getting developed back then, right? And I mean, but we might not know exactly what it sounds like, right? But I mean, that's the roots of all this and everything.
So one thing right now, one thing that we compare, so one thing that it's better to just put them in two different ways. Those 7 royal modes goes back to the time of Barabat, that they played something like oud, like a lutar, and chang. And then 200, 300 years ago, a very like a music family called Mirza Abdullah Khan and his family, like his granddad, his uncle. They started um, like inventing a new uh, dastgah inspired by those royal modes and also inspired by another people that we call it Abdul Qadir Maraghi. So Abdul Qadir Maraghi was a middleman between the royal modes and a new the traditional genres that the Mirza Abdullah Khan family invented. So what we hear now is very close to what 200, 300 years ago started playing and growing. The only maybe a few daska or few modes or few, we call it naqme, few music that we'll hear through chargah or through mahur is very close to what at the time of Barbad they played it. But what you hear now as a sunnati or traditional music is very related to what um, Mirza Abdullah family started growing.
Yeah, and I mean, what you do hear in the music now is like this real like a elegance, right? I mean, it seems that this was a very refined period. That the arts were being very strongly supported by the people in power, and that along with the philosophy and the science and all those other things that were being developed in the courts, you get a sense that this was kind of maybe the center of civilization, right? I mean, you hear it, I think.
Yeah, true. I mean, the good example of this conversation, I mean, comes from the Turkish music mostly, because for 500 or 700 years, uh, those let's say governments or regime who they took over the Iran from Safavieh 700 years ago. They didn't really like music to be part of the art, or people use the music as entertainment part. Mostly it was about poetries or theatrical performances. So that's why you see at that moment there are less music development or music influenced by musicians through the society, more poetries in Iran. But at the same time, because Abdul Qadir Maraghi, one of the very important uh, person in our music, he had to move to Turkey, to Ottoman Empire, and I guess he was one of the first Iranian artist refugee that he went to the Ottoman Empire, and I guess he was one of the asylum there. So you see that development started growing from that moment in Turkish music. That's why. So when you hear to the Turkish music, mostly the Eastern one, which is very close to Iran, you feel like, oh, there are mix and match of Iranian and Turkish music here that we hear them, mostly in Kurdish music, because there's a very close borders of the Iraq Kurdish, Iran Kurdish, and Turkish Kurdish that they're playing like a Iranian music at some point. But yes, it's really true.
Yeah, and I mean, even today, from what I understand, poetry is more a part of Iranian culture than it is maybe of here in New York or something like that. I don't know if that's true.
Oh,
That's
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. Oh, yes. I mean, so I guess the only part that survived our art and culture was poetries. because it was like a DNA. That DNA transferred to other generations because we didn't have any music, or even after like a few big wars, one of them from Mongolian emperor, like a Chinese emperor with the Kara Australian and those people. So I guess they fired all these libraries, the civilization and everything. They ruined the civilization. So the only thing that left was the poetries, and this is like a DNA transfer to another generation. And now we have like a 1,000 year of the poetry journeys from Rudaki to even the recent one, Monzavi. Most of the, I guess, most of the like poetry genres like a ghazal, masnavi, everything I guess came from the Iran, from the either east of Iran or center of Iran. But yes, poetry is a very important part of this culture.
Yeah, and so like from what I've been told, your average person, someone who's selling some fruit on the street or something like that, they may be familiar with they'll have some poetry on their lips that might match the situation, or a phrase, or that kind of thing. It's like, is that correct?
You know why? Because these poetries at so here's the thing. These poetries change to slangs at at the moment. So now most of these poetries we use them, not most of them, few of them we use them as a slang. That's why it's in the memory of the society. So people, yeah, of course they know Sadi, they know Hafiz, they know Maulana, Rumi, they know everybody's, and of course they know few poetries of each of them that they use it at the moment or related to things happen to their society.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, poetry, you have quite a few projects that celebrate poetry, right?
I love
Musically.
poetries. I love
Yeah.
poetries. I mean, it was Voices and Bridges, which I really love the most. It was 2018, I guess. I called Ali Reza Ghorbani, one of the Iranian amazing singer, that, hey, Ali Reza, I have a project. I knew that people know Farsi, but not as much as we want them to know about Farsi.
Mhm.
And I really want to help this to be developed. And I had started the Voices and Bridges is a bilingual project that one, for example, I put Rudaki with the Shakespeare, and then so so it was like I had like a Shakespeare poetries, and I had like a very similar Rudaki's poetries. Then I wrote a new story of those two poetries.
Mhm.
And then I called it, for example, The Love Metaphor or Jetanahi Dibo. So, and then I wrote the music for that. And Adil Zorbani and those eight singers, they really made it great. So, I mean, what's that? They act what I wanted to just explain to the people.
Mm.
Um, and in 2021, after, let's say, um, I guess 600 days, after 600 days working on recording all around the world, because it was 135 musicians, 9 singers, and the COVID. So we, on May 2021, we released the album.
Wow. Yeah. And so, do you remember any of the lines of poetry stay in your mind from either
Yeah, of
Shakespeare?
course.
Like
I mean,
what?
not the Shakespeare one, because it was the very difficult one. But one that I really like the most is Jeta Nahidibo from Tagore. It was like a story. It was a very similar story of Tagore and Rumi that at some point they're talking about a water that comes from the darkness to the light. And so how Tagore described this water coming from the dark to the light was water will find his way, its way. Don't worry about that. Just follow the water. And also Rumi said that along with this water, which brings a light to you or brightness to you, you just need to follow it and enjoy drinking of this water. You will receive to the light. So this moment, like a reaching to the light or brightness or freedom, whatever, it was the point of the Jatanahi Dibu
Mm.
that I brought it on a stage with Bombay Jayashri and Ali Reza Qurban.
Yeah, it's so amazing to go back to these people who are writing 600 years ago, 800 years ago, and
So,
they're dealing with the same problems.
of course, yeah, which we had, yeah, or which we have now.
Yeah, and
It's
they're
yeah,
making,
stronger.
yeah, the leaders are making the same mistakes, and yeah, and it's, I don't know, it's something, it's amazing to be connected to something. It's almost like if you're born here, there's like a bias towards like the present time, that right now is so important. You know, if you just watch the news, like, oh, this happened a week ago, this is, but when you connect with something from 8 centuries ago, it kind of releases you from these people telling you, oh, this is the world, and this little, you know, your news feed
Yeah.
is the world.
Yes, but if we want to dive into it, go deeper. So it was 2013 when I came to the US that most of the people around me, they didn't know how to pronounce Iran. Most of them they called Iran Iran, which is fine. There is no argue because they may know. I mean, so as long as they, so the only sad part was they knew how to say Iraq, but they didn't know how to say Iran,
Mm.
Iran. So, which we write them the same. I mean, so there's only N and Q at the end, the difference. One of the aim of the Voices and Bridges, honestly, for me, was to just share this knowledge to the non-Iranian people because I knew that with this, I may have more audiences, more listener, that they listen to this music and it's a moment that they're like, oh, for example, curious to know what's this, what's that music, let me search about Sadi. We also created a website with all the information and description regarding each track, the poetries, the poem, all the singers. It was just a time for me to do what I really wanted to do regarding my art and culture. Just at least just give some tips to other people. Hey, this is my culture. If you wanna learn about my culture, it's not only about the Quran and Suri or Santoor or Tar or Sitar. It's what about 1,000 poetries. This 1,000 poetries, it's a root of everything of our musical repertoire, theatrical script, movies, everything. So you see all of these genres of musician or other like a movie actor or movie director that they have one thing in similar that we call them poetries
Mm.
or literature.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed when I was studying a little bit about Mohammad Reza Shajarian. Sorry for the pronunciation, but
No, it was a right pronunciation, the
okay,
best one.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So I read
yeah.
that he was a master calligrapher.
I mean, so he was master of many things. Even he was so he invented few instruments. Yeah, he has some instrument that, for example, I guess there is one of them very similar to setar that he made that instrument. He made seven rare and very unique instrument. Also, yes, he was a calligrapher, and he was a very knowledgeable person about the Iranian literature. His knowledge was very amazing about the Iranian literature because at the, at each moment, for example, he was argue against the government, or it was like a genocide or whatever. He picked a right poetries to use at that moment
Hmm.
because he wanted to share his thought with people through the music.
Yeah, it's interesting to think about, that model of a Renaissance person, and here again, we're so specialized that being a musician, sometimes it's for some people, it's like being an athlete and you just concentrate on the skill only. But you have people like Shajarian, and they, for them, it's you have to know literature, poetry, instrument making, calligraphy, history, and then that all feeds into the music as well, I suppose.
Yeah, because so so here's the thing. For us Iranian, uh, poetry has a very important place in Iranian art and culture, and everything goes to them and to this route. Even if you want to be a composer, there's a part of inspiration. If you want to be a um, improviser, or you do a trade with a singer like an avaz, he do his avaz, you play the avaz. So you have to be very you have to know the poetries, you have to study poetries or literature just to know um, what's the inside these poetries. And also, I mean, just if we put the philosophy of the poetry's way, a rhythm part of this poetry is very important, because in Indian music, you see that the generations are transferring the knowledge of the rhythm to another generation, which is amazing. But in Iran, from 1000 or 1500 years ago, there is a big lack or parts that we don't have music. So no one transferred that knowledge to another generation, to the next generation. How we did that with the poetries. So, for example, odd numbers, 7 or 5 or 13, you see that those, I mean, so for example, Farrokhi or Saadi or Hafez, once you see the structure of their poetries, you see that those rhymes or whatever comes to that structure is very similar to a rhythm. For example, 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3. Then you can put the same word in your music. So that's why poetry and literature is very working as a very important part of this culture, because it brought everything from like an ancient moment to the modern moment.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, it makes sense, and yeah, you hear the poetry, in the music, even if you can't understand the language.
Yeah. For
Interesting.
example, I have a piece called ماه من باش, Be My Moon. And it's like a ماه من باش ماه را بگذار. So be my moon, forget about the moon. So the best way when you listen to it, it's like da 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 da. It's odd number. ماه من باش ماه را بگذار. So see, it gives you all the opportunities. Hey, this is a rhythm, this is the accent. You just need to put
Hmm.
the melody into it. Yeah. So this is how I really like about our literature.
Interesting. Wow. So the big excitement, and one of the reasons we had the opportunity to talk is you have a brand new project coming out very soon, maybe right after or right before. I don't know where this is coming out, but you've got this new exciting recording coming out. So can you tell us a little about?
Sure, right off the strings. 2011, I decided to move to the US, and 2013, I moved to the US and I started studying music. But one of my big goal was to join the Silk Road Project. So in 2015, I started studying. So I participated to one of their program called Global Music Workshop, and I met Edward Press. So he used to be my mentor for 2 years, 2015 and 2016. And also I met Sandeep Das, Bassam Sabah, Mike Plug, all those amazing musicians there. And I was very happy, very lucky that these people invited either joining them on their stage, playing with them, or I had a chance to bring them on the stage with me. But Edward Prez, who is my brother right now, so we started thinking of a new project from 2019. But every time, either he was busy with his project or I was busy with my albums. In 2022, we started a work called Voices Unveiled in collaboration with two Iranian female singers. And this happened for like a 50, 60 concerts in 2 years. So during this moment, this project, we started writing our brand new instrumental project called Dust and the Moon. But once we put everything together, we're like, okay, now we should be we think of, okay, so quartet, quintet, what's best for us. Then we found other people like Engin Günaydın from Gypsy All Star, Aylin Basaldi, and we saw ourselves in a different spice and different flavor of the music, because it was like a Middle Eastern, Persian, Mediterranean, jazz, beyond jazz, and everything. So that's why once we were done with Voices Unveiled, December 21st, 2025, we were like, okay, now it's time to record our first album. So yes, Right of String is a brand new ensemble band that we have, and right now, I guess 28 Bright Shiny Things will release our first album called Dust and the Moon, which is a collaboration between me, Edward, Eli Basaldi as a composer and musician there, Engin Günaydın as a drummer, and Ismail Vanovsky as a guest artist that he played Hur and Peshmi, two pieces of mine that I wrote.
Yeah, and it's really it's a very exciting kind of fun project. I mean, it's the type of thing, I don't know if you performed it in front of an audience, but it's going to have a lot of reaction, I imagine, just the arrangements and the excitement and the energy of the ensemble.
We didn't play this repertoire yet because it's a very new repertoire, but we used to play some of the instrumental repertoire at the moment that we had the Voices Unveiled, because at the time that we had like a transition between a singers, so we put like some instrumental. And for us, one thing that we really love about this instrumental, we have a conversation at the time that we have improvisation. Mostly it's very popular in jazz and also non-classical music that we do improvisation. So we play the melody like a part A, part B, and then we have like that improvisation. So it was one of the very exciting part that we played. And so I'm assuming that, I mean, beside the vocal part, that of course most of the audiences like that part. The other part that really the audiences were really enjoying was those improvisations that we have done through the pieces.
So I'm curious, like when you said I think 2011 you came here.
No, 2013.
Or 2013. What were like the culture shocks that you felt when you came to this country?
Oh, very good question. So back home in Iran, we don't used to play in wedding, or I mean, so I know that other neighbors like a Syrian, like a Lebanese, Turkish, they're great musicians playing at weddings too. It's not a problem for them. But my first two gigs was playing with the belly dancer and the darbuka player. So he was the guy, Jamal Mohammed. He was a director of the SMU World Music Ensemble, and he's like, "You want to make money?" I'm like, "Sure, of course." Okay, so we have a gig, and I didn't know what's the difference between gig and concert and performance at that moment. So he passed me the address. I went there. Oh my God, this is a wedding, and then a belly dancer. But it was all fun. It was a big shock, but I'm like, okay, guys, I mean, you have to be flexible with this. You have to learn what's this. So now, so year by year, it was less fun things like wedding, more serious things.
Mhm.
But the big shock started from that moment. The good thing was because I started working with Jamal Mohammed, and he was from Lebanon, and he used to, so he knew the world music, the real structure of the world music, not the global jazz, just the world music. Those intonation or those texture flavor from Iranian music was not a new thing to him. It was like, oh, okay, I know this, I know that. And he gave me a very, even very solid space to bring my music, arrange the music for that orchestra, to just let people listen to the Persian music. I mean, just the wedding part was the big shark. The rest of it was the fun part.
Yeah, yeah. I actually myself, the producer, I've worked over 200 weddings. I could, it got to the point that if I would show up to a wedding as a guest, something about me, they would just assume I was working there. Like I'd go to the valet parking. They'd say, "Oh, you could just park in the back." I don't know. Everything about me. Maybe my hair was too long or something, but I just seemed like a wedding professional.
I mean, I tried to convince myself that, hey, you're an entertainer. Why why you're judging yourself? It's all about the culture, because so I started just judging myself, or I started like overthinking. Oh no, you shouldn't play in that wedding. But honestly, at that moment, that people are happy, they're enjoying. That's all. That's all. So this is another experience that you have to try it. But
Yeah.
now I'm 47, and I don't prefer to have the same experience.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't do weddings anymore either. Uh, but yeah, so your parent, I mean, you're saying, there's this joke. They say, they're asking these people from different religions, when does a baby become a human being? And, someone says, oh, it's the moment they're conceived. And somebody else says, oh, it's the moment, they're born. That's when they're human. And then I guess in your case, you apply it to Middle Eastern people. They become a human the moment they become a doctor or a lawyer. So it sounded like you're saying, like, for your parents, they had expectations of being a real professional, suit and tie professional. So how did that experience go when you made the commitment to be full-time musician?
Ah, ah. I can write a book. So uh, my parents, that they're here with me right now, so they live in Germany, but since they got their green card, so they're between like here and there, and I really enjoy seeing them with me. Um, Mostly my mom, that she's an amazing cook too. But one thing, while they're very open-minded people, my dad used to be a pilot, my mom used to be a principal, like a high school principal. And they brought me that Santoor, but their influence and their commitments to their, I don't know, to their family or whoever it was, we have to have a well-educated, um, what's that, kid, either dentist, physician, or engineer. And I do remember I spent almost 14 years of my life as an engineer, industrial engineer. When I called my mom and say, "Hey, I want to say goodbye to you. I want to move to the US and live my life." She didn't really get it. What's the meaning behind this? And then when she saw me as like a trying to be a musician, trying to go on a stage or studying the music, at that moment, every time she called me, she said, "Are you happy? Are you fine with your life? Everything is fine?" I'm like, "Of course, yeah, everything's fine. What's going on with you?" So yeah, I'm happy. No, no, you make money. I'm like, "Yeah, of course, I make money, so I'm happy with whatever happened to my." And she had this concern for, let's say, 10 years. Even I bought my first place here, and every time she called me, "Mama, you're okay." I'm like, "Mama, I got everything that I want. I'm really okay with my life." But she was still worried about me. And believe it or not, she's still worried about me because I'm a musician. But I really like it. I really like what I've done, what so I got, yeah. But she's still like, "Worried about you. You're 47." I'm like, "God, I'm 47, but I'm enjoying my life."
Yeah, we never stop being our parents' children, I suppose.
Exactly. And the only moment that they're happy when they're attending to my concerts. Like, "Oh, he's my
Mm.
kid." So I do remember that I brought him Santoor when he was 9. I'm like, "Okay, I'm proud that you mentioned this to other people too."
I had the reverse experience. I brought them to a very bad, the kind of concert you wouldn't bring your parents to, like almost
Oh,
the
wow.
equivalent of that wedding. It was a big mistake. I was very young. I was in my 20s, I think, and it was at a bar, and they'd hardly ever been to a bar. And so they didn't know what to do, and they didn't know that people talk when you play music at a bar. So they're looking around, everybody's talking, and I'm playing, and then we stop in between songs, and my mom says, "David, play a slow dance." And I said,
Oh my
"Oh,
God.
it was that was a low." And yeah, oh my God, it was terrible. I had to.
I
they,
know, I know.
they had been helping me out a little bit, and I had to cut them a check for right after that. They
No,
said,
yeah, I know.
Give me
Let
$1,000 for the whatever they were paying my Easy Pass at the time.
Oh wow, okay.
I had to pay
Let me
it back.
let me share another memory from the time that I wrote a piece for my mom called Azan. So, "Oh woman," like this, and it's a very poetic. So it was a modern Iranian ghazal sara that we call it poetry. That he wrote this. "Oh woman, your all voice. I love this voice, this brilliant voice, like a silk." And I wrote this for my mom, dedicate to my mom.
Mm.
So when was it? It was on a stage, and one of the lovely and beautiful singer, she said, "Hey, we want to dedicate this piece to Ehsan's mom that she's here with us." Once everything was done, so it was maybe after party or at the restaurant. I called and I said, "Hey, mom, how did you like that piece?" She said, "Oh, it was very lovely. Did you stream it or did you release it?" I was like, "Yeah, I released it." "Oh, how it goes with this?" I was like, What do you mean by how it goes with this?" "People like it, people listen to it, or people buy it, download it." And he tried through the chat GPT and she searched, "Hey, if there is a piece, what's the success of the piece?" And then ChatGPT said, or they have to release it, they have to do this amount of stream, the amount of this download. And she was asking me like, "No, please." She was asking me all this question. I'm like, "Mama, don't worry, it's fine." You just enjoyed that dedication part. So honestly, she didn't know what's going on with this. She just asked the chat GPT, the AI, and AI said, "Hey, you know what? You have to be concerned about this part. Don't worry about that part. So concerned about this part. More worry about this part."
That's amazing.
Very technical question. I didn't see her asking me this question. Did you release this
Mhm.
officially? I'm like, oh wow, okay. The next question, how did you make money out of it?
Who has the publishing rights? Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, maybe you should
So
listen to her.
their parents.
Yeah. So I guess the last question, I mean, like I was saying before, the, the real traditional stuff, when I hear it, I feel like I'm the prince of, well, I'm in Woodstock, so I feel like the prince of Woodstock listening
Oh
to this
wow,
music.
okay, good.
Um,
Hmm.
do you get that same kind of feeling, or do you have to be in a certain mental state to like really execute this music?
Whatever music that I create, you mean?
Mm. Well, I was particularly thinking about the traditional, the stuff from the traditional music.
So another good question. Uh, right now in Iran, if you ask people, they're like, yes, we have this concern that we have to stick to that tradition. But what I really love to do is just to show the beauty of the art and culture of Iran. Because one thing that it's very close to me, I don't know. I mean, so I know that there's a radio, but one thing that is very close to me is this. It's Iran.
He's showing a
The
necklace with the shape of Iran here.
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all my life.
Mm.
So whatever that I want to write, or I really don't care about what is this tradition comes from, either from the folk, from the Iranian classical, from north of Iran, from south of Iran. Everything has to be shaped well to introduce or to give more value to the culture and art that I love, that I call it Iran, motherland. This is what I think about my music, and that's why. So I sometimes fusion may help to explain how beautifully this country. Sometimes maybe another thing helped me to just talk about my country, talk about the motherland that I have.
Mm. Well, you've been doing a beautiful job. It's opened up my ears to a lot of beautiful music. So yeah, thanks for all your efforts. Thanks for the new album, and we'll be seeing you at Ragas Live Festival in 2027, if not
Yes,
sooner.
please, please,
So
please.
yeah, I'm happy to
And
connect.
yeah, and thank you so much, David. So your questions and this conversation was so lovely. Thank you so much.
I really appreciate your time. All right,
Thank you. Thank you.
more to
Bye.
come. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Jason.
Bye.